Hi, it's Robin Armstrong. I'm just presenting my forecast for 2024. And it's been a rough time. So Pluto's just about to finish. It's just finishing being in Capricorn and going into Aquarius. This is a fairly big shift, and for the last 12 years, Pluto going through Capricorn. The last 15 years, Pluto going through Capricorn. It just put all the power into structures, government, business, everyone trying to get control and power in a ferocious way. But at the same time, it devastated, it forced the cost of food and the cost of houses up beyond anything normal that anyone could be. So that period has reached its peak. It's not went back, but that's the effect of Pluto going through Capricorn. Now Pluto's going into Aquarius. And as it goes into Aquarius, we're going to run into the control of thoughts and words. Like even now, there's so much information, misinformation, what's true, what's not true. But the Pluto in Aquarius is going to bring controls over what's true. Who is in control is going to say, this is true, that's not true, this is it. And there's going to be controls and power struggles around it. We're going to see this. We started to see glimpses of it already, but it's going to imply that it's going to oppose the Leo. So while it's bringing controls over ideas and ideology and what information can be published or what can be put in line or what can't be put online and how those controls come in, it's going to oppose the Leo, and it's going to just as it put the housing market and food out of reach to go to extremes in its cost over the last 15 years. It's going to be over the next 15 years, it's going to put control and cost and expenses over education and access to knowledge. So we're going to see those costs. We're starting to see it. It's probably going to continue. It's almost like the team rules and the rules for the team and what's correct is against most individual creative expressions of Leo. So that's the paradox that we're just heading into, this new censorship and control of knowledge and it's almost the fear of who's saying what or what's true. And there's not a standard, so standards will be enforced by whoever's in control. But at the same time, real education is going to be controlled too. So the idea of individual excellence and doing your own special thing and be best isn't going to count as much as following the rules or following the laws. So this is a challenge. This is the challenge of Pluto. It brings in the fears of knowledge and fears of ideas, and we're all wound up on those things these days. Okay, so it goes into Aquarius for 1 second. It goes in on the 21st of January, and it pretty well stays there until here. It stays there until September 1st, when it goes back into Capricorn for a few months, and then it goes back into Aquarius by November 20th, and when it goes back into Aquarius, then it's in permanently for that time. So we're seeing the edges of this shift of knowledge, power, information, who has access to what, who can promote what, who can publish what, what's acceptable, what's not. These are heavy controls that are coming in. We're not used to being, well, some people are, but we're not used to mostly being used to censored that much. At the same time, there's an awful lot of wrong information and political influences being perpetrated. There's no standard of what's true or what's not right now. So not that out in our outer world, it's hard to know. We're caught up in the web and information, and it's not good information, not necessarily reliable. So it's also geared to build up fear. So this is part of the Pluto influence for this next year is to shift into the control over knowledge and the increasing costs of education. The things that stand out to me right now as I'm seeing that. Then the next one, so Pluto brings this power struggle and confrontation, and it's the real issue of truth is what's true, what's really true. And how do you find out what's true when no one is being exactly truthful? It's relative truth. So Neptune, next big planet that affects global affairs significantly, has been in Pisces since 2012. And while it's been in Pisces, the Neptune is the planet of mysticism, of vision, in a way of faith, of hope, but it's also the planet of confusion, corruption, dependencies, escapism, and illusions. So over the last 12 years, in the buildup of faith and belief, faiths have built up to such a fanatical degree that at a point they've built up to fanatical degrees and they're applying it to politics and applying in different ways. And it's like the different religions are fighting each other. That's new. But anyways, the confusion, the lack of faith, distortion of things in the world, and just the masses of immigration, these things are all, Neptune brings tests of faith. So in a world that causes confusion, corruption, pollution, things going out of control and being lost or being fanatically embraced, and a lot of pathos and great sorrow. So we certainly have that. It's still building up to the end of Pisces. This is the last year it's in Pisces. And it's building up to the extreme of these visions. And are these visions or these feelings of these fanaticisms? So everybody believes what they're doing is correct and they have the right to do that more than what anyone else has. So these are some of the challenges in that. As you look back, it's easy to see that even what was right or wrong, how COVID should be dealt with, how all these things, different belief systems came up and took control and wrote on things, but they weren't necessarily embraced by everybody. They were enforced by some. So this caused the confusion and distortion and the gullibility in the world. But this fanaticism and that you see it in fanaticism in religions and getting involved with politics and believing this way and not that way. And but it's building up to extremes still for another year. So while this is going on, it's a challenge to, there's not forces in motion that how peace can come in, how things can be settled. It's still not in a solid form right now. It's still confusing. It's still distorted and running out of control. So this is the challenge with Neptune. So it's increasing these gullibilities, these fanaticisms, these great movements of people and great sorrows in the world. So it's almost, you could say, it's increasing the corruption of how things are run. But I see it more as a fanatical belief being increased. Fanatical beliefs being increased and being imposed out there and lived up to, and expecting everyone else has to live up to it or else. So this is, well, that's been around a long time, but it is certainly prevalent in today's world. So these are still the challenges of how to not get caught up in the fanaticism and how to get to truth or to simple sincerity, simple humility and a safe, humble life. How to get that? It's still a challenge. The planet Uranus is the planet of excitement and freedom and innovation. And when it went into Taurus, it went into Taurus about 5 years ago. When was it? 1 second. Yeah, it went into Taurus in 2018. So when Uranus went into Taurus, everyone thought it's new finances, it's new currencies, it's a Bitcoin, it's new exciting ways of dealing with money, and the world's changing. Wow, it's going to be different. We're expecting the old system to break and a new one to come in. So that was the initial idealism of it. But in reality, as we're going on in this, we're getting further on in this Uranus and Taurus. What it actually did is it accentuated the individual greeds instead of bringing out the noble side of the Taurus, brought out the greed side. Everybody's pushing for their own money, their own things. It's a huge battle, this push for independent greed, and how some people have so much money, and so many people are not. This has been the destabilizing influence of Uranus, and these shocks. It's still in Taurus for 2024. So these destabilizing forces, like, it can't maintain for that long. But while it is, there's still radical elements pushing the extremes of money, of gimme, get, of greed, and even the war machines capitalize on this, the war businesses and things like this. So like, there's still this focus on a highly independent, what am I going to get? What am I going to get? There's not really, like, it's really a contrast to the team spirit of the last century that was building up. Unfortunately, the team spirit built up. Unfortunately, there was corruption and everything, and businesses took far advantage of it. But we lived through a renaissance, a tremendous change through the last century, and we're starting to come out of it a little bit, and there's a bit more disenchantment with it, and there are more reactions against it. And so globalization in some ways already happened, but not everybody wants to go along with it. And who's charged it? So there's a lot of battles and struggles around this fight against globalization. Not going to fix the planet, not going to fix pollution without people working together, working as a team. But getting to that teamwork is a lot more difficult, because it's hard. It's almost impossible to do if nobody wants to work together to do it. So there's spin-off effects of this, but the Uranus brought it the shock, and it's this selfish greed, shocking use of resources, even use of resources just for military and pushing it for individual purposes or whatever. These are all part of the Uranus and Taurus exchanges. This was happening at the beginning of the Second World War as well. Uranus was in Taurus, and it brought out these big disruptions around money. And who's using it, what. So the third thing is Saturn's still in Saturn's the third. So there's 4 planets that affect world affairs significantly. Pluto, the confrontations over truth and power. Neptune, the visions and the dreams and the confusions and the corruptions. And then Uranus is the excitement and shocks and sudden changes. And Saturn is the responsibility and the authority, and how authority is worked and what ambitions work. So right now Saturn's in Pisces, and it weakens the sense of authority. It weakens the self-discipline. And in a certain way in the world, it makes for questionable governments, unreliable, not exactly responsible governments. Governments will make perhaps complicated compromises or exchanges. So this is a confusing and a kind of degenerating aspect for Saturn being in Pisces through 2024. So the challenge is, like, these are the 4 challenges, the negative side of these planets: the irresponsible governments, the difficulty to be disciplined, the difficulty to have ambition to try and make something happen, the work ethic of things is just being dissolved, corrupted, confused. Okay. So, and then the other inner planets, they go around and they'll affect, but they're not the big things. These are the big themes that are going on. So there's a way of healing each planet's energy, of turning each planet's energy around and trying to make the best use of it. And it's so in a time where there's so little individual freedoms, there's so many challenges, and trying to be on the planet and share with other people. How would you say it? It's like, this is the age of Cali. So in the age of argument and quarrel, this age of darkness, there's not peace. But there's a special thing that can happen during this age of darkness that can't happen in any of the other ages. In other ages, it takes many lifetimes to be able to get enlightened, or to wake up, or it takes many lifetimes of discipline. But in this crazy, chaotic, arguing, complaining, dark age. The idea of one can simply by chanting, by saying a name of God and repeating it, you can get beyond it and become enlightened just within one lifetime. This is Indian Hindu thing about the age of Cali, which is just beginning, and it's going on for a long time, thousands of years more. So the this idea of chanting a name of God, and when you say a name of God, God's there. When you say it twice, God's there twice. I mean, God's always there, but to your consciousness, you're making it conscious to you each time you say it, and you're establishing your relationship a little bit more each time. And by doing that, there's just, so I just want to present why chanting would be valid against each in terms of fighting or countering the effects, the negative effects of each of these planets. So so Pluto brings the fear, the mental fears, the harshness, the sharp thinking. There can't be a God, there can't be anything in the world, it's just there. It has all these fearful things. And when you're chanting, it fights the mental fears. Yeah, chanting is like a tool that can fight your mental thoughts and fight the negative thought forms, or put them in their place, or transcend them, you might say. So by chanting or establishing a relationship with chanting or saying in the name of God, you can you reestablish the kingdom of love or the kingdom of God. You're establishing that in yourself, and it makes the negative fears and thoughts fall away. Okay, if you don't believe in God, you can't see it. You know, it's there's choices. It's one, but according to this theme, the chanting and saying the name of God will get you in your heart and get you in touch with the inner worlds and help you to transcend and let go of the mental distractions, the fears, the confrontations with bad thought forms. Okay, so that's the Pluto chanting thing within this Kali Yuga. But the Neptune, which is the planet of faith and belief and vision, it's being so confused in fanaticism and wrong visions and confusing visions and distorted visions in the world. By chanting, it has an effect on Neptune in that it restores simple faith and humility against the belief of, I know what's right and everybody else should follow it. Yes, well, boy, it's grateful you just get through a day. It's grateful to have a bit of peace. It's simple things. So by saying a name of God and chanting and being able to be emotional and trusted and go in, it opens up this realm of faith that creates a simple, humble, honest truth or clarity that it doesn't have to be projected out into social factors, something one just personally does. And it balances the delusions and confusions and corruptions of Neptune. So it could be argued that each of the planets causes these difficulties so that Pluto causes the hassle so that people will wake up to a truth that perhaps there's a God, that there is a God, and that there's dark and there's light. And to wake up to that, Neptune brings up all the confusion and the guilts and the sorrows and so that one can revalue faith and reestablish one's alignment with faith. So every Neptune aspect would be a test of faith, essentially. How to get self-reliant, be simple, trust yourself, and have faith. So, okay, that's the second point. Third point, Uranus, the sudden shocks and the changes and the disruptions. Uranus it breaks up the crystallized structure. So when you built up a world and you've got your business, you're doing business, you got a war going on, got things going on, it's all crystallized, and Uranus is pushing this excitement and this disruption. Uranus, on a higher level, Uranus will break it up, it'll blow up, and in the end, that falls away, and it breaks out the restricting negative thinking and negative structures so that new insights and more it lets the spirit get new and clearer insights, not so much attached to materialism. So these are like steps on a spiritual path. Each planet can trigger this, but we see it in the world as the exact opposite force. It's doing all these things. Really, boy, by chanting, you can break through the structures and change the patterns of your life and wake up to a higher energy. That's the value of how you can use Uranus for the catalyst to make that change. Now, Saturn being authority and discipline and being in Pisces for 2024, it's confusing, it's weakening, it's disoriented. What government can you trust? What who's doing what? Like, it's all confusing. There's blame, there's guilt, there's sorrows, there's idealistic things being made. Things are not being run practically or are simply. And the complications and the injustices, they're piling up and they're not diminishing over this year. But on a personal level, the Saturn in Pisces tends to make a weak sense of ambition, a weak sense of a weaker work ethic. One's self-discipline, one's work ethic tends to be weakened and dissipated. And why make the bother? Why bother? Like, it tends to make one avoid regular, normal disciplines, which bring up achievements and respect. So the chanting under that, by doing something regularly, by establishing some daily routines and regular routines, you set up a certain structure, a certain discipline that will accomplish results over a period of time. And over this period of time, it gains respect and it puts Saturn in its godly space, in the way that Saturn, when you're dealing with it right, it allows you to listen instead of worrying, instead of measuring, instead of not dealing with responsibilities and dealing with failures and stuff. It allows you to keep your discipline, allows you to listen to that inner voice. That ability to listen, to be able to listen to your heart, listen to God, listen to inner things, is a special gift. And it's a special power that will break away a lot of the depression and worries. It'll guide you how to deal with outside things. So when I take this idea of the Age of Cali, and that by chanting, anyone can become enlightened by chanting and get through the darkness, it's the tool to defeat the mind, the wrong emotions, the wrong commitments, and to get back to a simple standard within oneself. So, excuse me. Okay, so that's these are, to me, the challenges between a personal chart and what one's going through and what's happening out in the world, and how you come in to wake up inwardly, because the idea of waking up inwardly and finding God or love, that's the purpose of life. It's not fighting and killing and hurting and getting things and taking things from it. No, it's not any of that stuff. But we often caught up in that. So, okay. So the idea of chanting is very useful. So I'd like to and getting it in a daily way or in a practical part of your life, integrating it into your life and grounding it. That Saturn kind of does, by doing that, it grounds it and it makes it a part of your backbone and part of your structure. So, okay, so those to me are the things that would heal the dark things of the outer planets that are going around out in the world. Well, I'd like to present what I call an initiation in how to apply these things, how to work with these things, how to develop the chanting in a realistic way, so that you would gain the experience and be able to see its value. First, you don't know. First, when you're trying to chant, you're just doing it mentally. Well, I'll try it and see it. And you're going along and you're thinking about it, and it's only doing so much. After you've done chanting for a bit of while, it becomes emotional and it begins to open up the deeper areas and becomes more fulfilling. So there's a lot of invisible processes that happen in the process. But if you're ever going to start chanting, or you see this, and you can see this idea, I suggest you take a name of God. I chant a lot. I've been chanting for 50 years, so I'm long into this stuff. But if you start chanting, take a name of God. I use two words. I use Hari and Om. Hari Om. It's an Indian chant. It's like Hare Krishna or But you could use Jehovah, you could use Allah, you could use any name of God will work. But you're supposed to chant when you get up in the morning for the first 5 minutes, before you do anything, before you get involved or pick up the phone, talk to people, chant for 5 minutes. Just repeat the chant. Just repeat it. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. You just, Allah, 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 Jehovah, Jehovah, oh God, oh God, oh God. Like, just repeat it and do it for 5 minutes, as perhaps emotionally as you can, but just do it. But you do it for 5 minutes in the morning when you first get up, and at the end of the day, just before you put your head on the pillow, you do the 5 minutes, do another 5 minutes. So those 5 minutes each day, that's the discipline you need to get. But you need to do this every day. So doing 5 minutes every morning, 5 minutes every night for every day, and you keep it going and you don't break the chain, that becomes a really magical, powerful link. It's more powerful than chanting once a week for 2 hours or 3 hours. That's one big buzz and hit. But the 5 minutes every morning, every night becomes a regular thing. It becomes something that you get used to doing, and it begins to have its effect. You begin to see your effects of it. So if you chat, by the time you have to do this steadily for 3 months before you can see your progress in it, before you can sense what it's actually doing. So this takes an investment. Okay, I'll try this for 3 months and see. But what happens is, once you've been chanting that 5 minutes each morning, it's kind of between the sleeping dream and the waking dream. You put a little name of God, a point of silence, a point of special being inside of it. Then you do it again between the waking dream and the sleeping dream at night, just before you go to bed. Put the 5 minutes there. And they become little pauses, little breaths in the waking dream and the sleeping dream, between the two in your world. Now, once you've done this every day and every night for a month, after a month, you start anticipating you're anticipating you're going to do the chant 2 hours before you start. You're already inwardly, you're psychically preparing for the chanting. So it's already having an effect for the 2 hours before it. And then the chanting has a solid effect for the 2 hours after it. So you get about after a month, you got this 2 hours before, 2 hours after. You get about this 4 hour hit. The little 5 minute meditation has a 4 hour influence that's bringing light into your life. Same at night. Okay, so after a month goes by, you get this 4 hour hit. By the time you get 2 months done, it becomes 4 hours before and 4 hours after. It becomes an 8 hour hit. So 4 hours, you're anticipating the chanting inside yourself 4 hours before you start it. And once you do the 5 minutes, it has an effect for the next 4 hours. Approximately. So you see, it's growing. You've done it for a month, 2 months. You've got this discipline as part of your life. It's becoming part of your regular routine, like breathing in and out. Okay, so after 2 months, you get these 8 hour hits of being protected or being guided or being in some of the light of meditation, of chanting. Now, by the time you get to 3 months, you're anticipating it 6 hours before you do the chanting. You do the 5 minutes chant, it has an effect for the next 6 hours. Wow, that's half a day. And then you're anticipating doing the one in the evening. There's another 6, and then you have the chant, it has another effect. So the first time after 3 months, you get 24 hours of presence of the chant, of the light. And after you've got that 3 months, don't break a day. If you're doing this, do it regularly. If you miss a day, you start at 0 again, and you build up until you get 3 months nonstop. Once you get the 3 months nonstop, and you look back where you were, you look back and you realize, wow, I just restored some innocence. I just cleared my psyche. I cleaned out a certain amount of negativity from my life. I got to go further with this. This was incredible. So then you get an affirmation. That's the initiation. That 3 months is initiation into the value of chanting. And being able to see if it works or not works. Put it to the test, check it out, see if it works. But then when you look back, you really see the change in consciousness over 3 months, and you say, wow, it's like you took a psychic bath in the name of God. So that faith and that building up of that inner experience and making it a piece of your life and making it the fabric of your life Chanting can do that. And it's not about all the thoughts, all the worries, the newspapers, the news, the, the digital stuff. It's not about that. It's just something you do. It's transcendent to that. It's simple, easy to do. But if you're curious, that's the way, that's, in my opinion, the best way to start to see it. Don't do a huge bunch, you'll burn out. Try and do 10, 15 minutes a day. It's not, you're not going to be, there'll be times your life has to get organized to align it. It's easier to do 5 minutes and not break it and just succeed at it. Then after you do the 3 months, you can step it up to maybe, I wouldn't step it even then, not too fast, maybe to 7 minutes. And you do 7 minutes for next month or two, or next 3 months. Then after 6 months, you step it up to 10 minutes. Then you step it, then after 9 months, you step it up to 15 minutes, maybe, and you got 15 minutes morning and night. That's a bigger chunk. But you have to, if you don't work up to it slowly, you'll get a run at it, and then something will happen in your life, and I got to take care of that, and you break it. So this continuity has a special power, has a special grace. It will, in time, as this goes on, you begin to start feeling this and feeling the chant, and you begin to, it's like setting up your heart as a standard in your life, not the thoughts. It's fighting the thoughts. Chanting is a tool to fight the thoughts. The name of God is the presence that dissolves the outer attachments. So, yeah, it's a challenge. I call it an initiation, but it's a challenge. If you want to try it. Get past the 3 months and then see where you are. So you could use, there's all kinds of chants, but I use Hari Om, simple, easy to breathe. Do it. That's teacher I ran across. But I used to chant Hare Krishna. You could do it. It's a longer chant, but you take a chant. You go for that 5 minutes, morning and night, between the waking dream and the sleeping dream. You anchor it in. You're investing in your soul, in your being, and you're healing the planet in the process and healing people that come into your circle. So this is, yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. This is my 2024 predictions. The drama of the world going out there really is conducive, and it's almost making us desperate, but it's really opened the door to see the value that prayer and meditation can do. Hari Om. Happy New Year.